All right, everybody. With all of the bad news that we've been getting with injury after injury after injury, maybe, just maybe, we have some good news on the horizon that we could see as early as tonight. Another episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is me rubbing my hands together, not because it's cold in this this room that I'm in, because I am oh so ready for something good to happen to this Avalanche team. Welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Avalanche, and thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You can follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe and get notified when a new show goes live. All right, sir. A lot happening with the Avalanche in terms of moving players up, moving players down. Well, not really moving players up, moving players down, putting player on waivers. What does it all mean? There's kind of some tea leaves that we have to read through because they didn't give us the definitive answer that we wanted, but we think we know where this is going. And when you send Sampo Ranta down, well, if you're sending him down, somebody needs to be either coming up to replace him or coming off of this injured list. And everything that we've been seeing, literally seeing with Val Nichushkin skating and hearing, is that he's close to coming back. We talked about that yesterday when Jared Bednar was on his radio program, saying that he's probably the closest to return. It's all just seeming like this is all just set up for Nichushkin to finally make his return tonight against the Rangers. So that's kind of just, guessing right now. But if they sent Ranta down, they put Kaut on waivers, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And in sending Ranta down, it wasn't like we send him down and are calling fill in the blank here up. There was no replacement there. So you have to just assume, like I'm saying, with all of that stuff that I was just talking about with Val Nichushkin, you got to feel good. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it's impossible not to with all the negative stuff that's been going on with the Avalanche. That we finally might be getting back one of our key players is huge.
You mentioned reading the tea leaves. That's what this feels like. You're sitting there, you see the moves going up, down, laterally. Well, nothing really coming up, but addition by subtraction is the formula we're going with here. And you've been kind of tracking Val Nichushkin, like Darren Helm. You kind of looking at the players that are on the cusp of coming back, and all the transactions that happened yesterday. It has that feel that somebody's coming back. And I grew up a wrestling fan. I don't want them to tell me until puck drop. I just want them to triumphantly, like Pyro, make their MSG debut and just have like Nuke have a song and come right out just skating and everybody lose their mind. But yeah, it's exciting. But then we all get to play armchair GM on who would we rather have? But the answer is Nichushkin. Like, you have that feeling that you miss that heart and soul. And every time Val, like especially last season when he wasn't part of the team, it was felt.
Sure.
And you want that heart and soul and that never give up type play style back in this roster. And a lot of these young guys can learn from Val.
Oh my God, yeah. He is their best forechecker by far. He's one of the best in the league at it. So they missed that. And it was sending Ranta down. I'm just looking at all the guys that they called up. I think they called like 4 or 5 guys at once for this game against the Bruins. You could have sent Myers down. They didn't. They could have sent Foodie down. I don't believe they've done that. You could have sent Burke back down. They didn't do that. I think Bednar really liked how Kyle Burke played, especially his comments after the game. He was a little bit angry. It seemed like he felt that they just gave up when they got down, maybe not 2-0. Once they got down 3-0, I think he felt certain guys just said, we're not coming back from this. And you probably were not going to, but that doesn't mean the effort drops.
Yeah.
And I think he felt like it did. So maybe, in sending Ranta down, maybe, is that comment directed towards him? Because I would think, it's directed towards Kaut, which again, we'll get to in a minute. And I have a long quote to read. It's definitely directed towards Kaut. Or is Ranta just the odd man out here? It's like, we got to pick one of you guys to go down to make way for what we think is Val Nichushkin. And you're just, you just happen to be that guy. We got to send someone. It's got to be you.
Out of all the names you mentioned, even with me being the biggest Sampo stan on earth, he's not ready. Like we can make, you just talked about, and I'm not going to refer to him as Cal ever again. It's Callahan Burke, the new sheriff in town. Callahan Burke. No, he made an impact. Foodie's making an impact in his own way. Like Dryden Hunt, he's finding his place. Like they're
Hudon's another one. Hudon's another one.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
He started on the first line. So
Yes.
Okay, you're not going to go. I mean, you could, but if you started in the first line against Boston, they must have liked what you're doing. So they're going to give you a little bit more time. And Ranta's been given more time than him, and they apparently don't like it. So, like I said, he's got to go down.
Yeah, he's just not there yet. He hasn't made that splash. He's had good plays here and there, admittedly, but he hasn't found that part where he belongs on this roster and what he could contribute. So I kind of understand why he would be the guy that goes back to Loveland, because he needs a little bit more seasoning. He knows what the NHL looks like. Now take that knowledge and go back to Loveland, refine your craft.
Yeah. And I don't want to say if this is Nichushkin's, game where he comes back. Clearly, they're still down a lot of talent and a lot of skill and a lot of important players. It helps. It just helps the psyche of okay, we finally got one guy back, and maybe that's a domino that just needs to fall. But for the Avalanche, like I want to believe that they're not rushing anybody back. For a number of reasons. Like, you still have a long way to go in the season. You're okay. Yeah, you're on the outside looking in as far as when it comes to a playoff spot right now. But come on, like, you're not that far back from that. That doesn't sound good. But you don't want to rush anybody back, because what good is that going to do anything? You have a long way to go. So getting someone to come back early that maybe isn't 100%. And well, really, it's like that old saying in sports, whoever is really 100%.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, so if he's like 90%, 95%, you play during that, because if you mess this up and then he goes out there, it's one of those things where he plays like a period and then he's not back on the bench because he wasn't fully ready. You've done more damage than good.
So a Shane Bauer shift.
Yes. Well, he got hurt, you know what I mean? But it could be that. It could be you're out there and you get clipped, or it's just what was ailing you when you're putting in, like, you're just going full bore because it's, it's game action, and then it flares up again. That's not good either. So I got to believe like they're going to be on the same page. And if it is him that's coming back, he's coming back. If he wakes up, like Friday morning and he's like, I'm not exactly where I want to be, maybe I just need like another couple days, I think they're going to give that to him. And then you might see them call up somebody last minute in the morning. I think we'll know more in the morning if they do call somebody up. We're recording this Thursday night, obviously, but yeah, they got to be smart about it. And I have every reason to believe the Avalanche will be.
Yeah. And you wouldn't think this is bringing somebody back early, because why do it against the Rangers? What's the difference in a day and a half? Just call them up for the Boston game. Like, we could have used anybody if they're 75%,
right? Even
playing at half speed. I would have loved whoever's about to come back, insert name here of new healthy player. It would have been great to have you against the Boston game. So if they needed to pull somebody early, that would have been the game to do it. This Ranger game, it's not convenient. So I feel like it's just one of those that a lot of the signs of the boxes are getting checked. Like, I'm ready, I'm feeling good. And it's going to be, like you said, like the morning of game day, that final checkbox. Yeah, I think I'm good to go. And then here comes the name.
Because there's going to be a lot of weight on his shoulders. He's the first one back in this list of players that they have injured. He's the first one to come back. And how a lot of people are saying, like, Mikko's struggling because everybody, like, defensively, everybody's focusing on him. They're going to do the same thing with Nichushkin. So if an injury is nagging and it's not completely healed, they're going to exploit that. And you don't want him to kind of go backwards because you play. And maybe, like you're saying, like how I'm saying, like, oh, give me another like couple days. Maybe that was this game.
Yeah.
Maybe it could have been Boston, but like, no, give me another couple games. So now here we are. So you got to put him back at some point. You can't keep putting it off. And that goes for everybody that's on the injured list.
And we just talked about there's no more convenient games on the schedule to do that. You can't say, that one, I can ease myself in against Buffalo. Tage Thompson he owns the world right now. Yeah. You can't do that. Like Philly, they've proven that they can beat us. Like there's no easy games left in December. St. Louis, it doesn't matter. No. So you can't cherry pick what game you want to come back for to ease your way in. It's rough the whole month. So if you're good to go, jump on board.
Yeah, not with the guys that you have out there right now. And that's nothing against them. It's just like, no, there's no easy game with who we're putting out there. So, all right, let's hear from Bet Online and then more to get to with Avalanche roster players. Martin Kaut, you got Artturi Lehkonen, Darren Helm, Erod, all in some capacity coming back or a little bit. Maybe you need to wait a little bit longer for a couple of those guys. But first, we have betonline.net. And BetOnline is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all at betonline.net. Who are my Broncos going up against this week?
That's a good question.
Look that up for
I'm
me.
glad nobody bet on Aaron Judge to the Giants.
Arson Judge went to the Giants, and I saw that whole thing going on Twitter. That's kind of funny. So yeah, if you love sports podcasts, and of course, who does not, you can find those as well at Bet Online. And we're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. You're laughing. Who is it?
Kansas City.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It was flexed out of the Sunday night game. Yeah, that's how bad it's gotten for that game is a home run twice a year.
Yep.
And if it's that bad for the Denver Broncos that they flex them out of the 8:00 Sunday night spot, that's rough. So you can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Go to betonline.net, and it is where the game starts. All right. So who do you want to start with here? You want to start with Martin Kaut, or do you want to start with the three players who are kind of skating around and non-contact?
Let's start with Kaut. It's the elephant in the room. Bednar was vocal about it, and it's something we've been talking about since preseason. So I feel like it needs to be addressed.
So Martin Kaut was again put on waivers, and this is the second time that he's been put on waivers this year. I thought there was potential of somebody maybe picking him up, just grabbing him. Still has that tag as a first-round pick. At the time, only had played a handful of games for the Avalanche. Some team I thought was going to look at that and say, let's just give him, a new arena, new team, new guys, new coaching staff, everything, and see what he can do. Didn't happen. Now they got to throw him on waivers again. And the plan is obviously to send him back down. And the Avalanche have been vocal about that. I don't imagine anybody's going to pick him up because his value has gone down since the first time he was on waivers. So if anybody picks him up now, they're either really a desperate team, or they're just trying to, I guess, screw the Avalanche in one way or another. But I think at this point, you're not really screwing them all that much if you were to take Martin Kaut. And before I get your thoughts on it, I do want to read what Jared Bednar said about it. So he's asked in a press conference, about Kaut. And he said, he played some really good games for us. He's played 18 games. And I'll give you this as an example. But out of those 18 games, we saw some really good play from him from a small chunk of games. And there might be one here, a couple together. But the difference with some of the guys that are here and playing here, like Cogliano and O'Connor, is once they find that game, it's very small fluctuations from there. They're bringing it every night. The consistency is an issue. A quiet game, a good game. That's what he has to work on. He has a great conscience. He has the ability to play, but he needs to find that game and be able to bring that on a nightly basis, or at least 85% of that on a nice nightly basis to play here. He goes on to say, it's all encompassing. It's effort on every play. It's playing with confidence with the puck. It's awareness. There's a bunch of things that go into it, but take his game as a whole. It's got to get into that window on a regular basis in order to be an everyday NHL player. That's the difference between being a call-up player and an everyday NHLer. That's where they are at right now with Martin Kaut. That doesn't bode well for him to get called back up in any immediate future. If the Avalanche are going to be getting guys coming off of this injured list at different spots over the next month, over December, like we've said before, all these injuries are not going out into towards the end of the season. You're going to get a lot of these guys back within the next month. And if that's what they had to say about Martin Kaut, and you've put him on waivers twice now this year, he's not the next man up to get called. I think he is camped there until he can show what they want from him at the NHL level. He can do at the AHL level for a much longer duration of time. I wonder if this is it for Martin Kaut. They've had him for a long time. Is he one of these guys that is part of a trade package? But what the heck are you going to get for him right now? He's not going to be involved in a Taves trade or anything like that, a Jonathan Taves trade or a Patrick Kane trade or a Bo Horvat trade. Like, that's not happening anymore with Martin Kaut. Never was anyway, but go ahead.
Let me read this for all the Martin Kaut on the fencers, one way or another.
Who they are, but go ahead.
If the jury's still out on Martin Kaut, boy, have I got a story for you. No, 2019, 2020, he played 9 games. He had 3 points. I remember that year because everybody was counting the days on that ELC. He showed promise. The next year, 5 games, nothing. The year after that, 6 games, nothing. This year, 18 games. That's twice as long as he's been on the team
for any other year, right?
3 points.
Yeah.
With nobody, we've talked about everybody that's injured. We've been shut out more this season than we have the past 2 seasons. Where is we talked about his preseason demeanor and his attitude, that terrible soundbite that got out and got shared before the season started about wanting to make it because this is his last shot. Past tense. That was your last shot.
I don't know. Yeah. The 3 points is not what you would like to see, but kind of going off of what Bednar's saying, it's like effort, it's consistency. Yep. It's how many times have we done an episode and it's like, where was he?
Yeah.
I mean, you can battle and just not get a puck in the net when you're kind of on a bottom 6 and more, a fourth line. Those points are hard to come by on those lines. But it's just, okay, if you can't score, if you can't get assists, if you can't get points, where's your efforts elsewhere?
Yeah. Where's
your efforts on the forecheck, just on the defensive end, on getting the puck out of the zone, just things like that, not making blind passes, just it's everything. And for him, and Bednar's 100% right. You see glimpses of, wow, like, okay. And you just always think didn't we not do this with Tyson Jost?
Yes.
Over and over and over again. And Tyson Jost played 10 times as many games as Martin Kaut has. And what did we get in a trade for Tyson Jost? Nico Sturm. Nothing against Nico Sturm, but that's what you're lower than that.
Yeah.
For Martin Kaut, for his value right now. So it's either do you, get rid of him for some piece, or do you just continue to let him marinate in the AHL and hope there's a moment where it clicks and he can be that consistent player? That's where the Avalanche are right now with Martin Kaut.
Like, Chris, what else does he have to do? Like, what is he going to do in the AHL that he hasn't done already? Like, what light is going to come on? This has been 4 years. Like, Jost, you mentioned Jost as a comparable. The team we traded him to has already got rid of him, put him on waivers, and now he's in Buffalo.
Right.
It's going to be the same song and dance when it comes to Kaut, whatever happens, because you're going to have this anticipation. And you mentioned, like, you see him for a play, and that's it for the rest of the game. Like, we talk about Jost getting a goal or a 2-point game with 2 assists. Kaut, it's a shift because he was in a highlight and he took that was a crazy shot. Could you imagine if that went in? But that's it.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, what else can you get from it at this point? He's not going to be. He has that tag of a first-round pick. This is just a mirror image of what we got with Tyson Jost. Tyson Jost was a first-round pick. We kept waiting for him to take that next step. You saw glimpses of it, and then he would just disappear. I mean, this is Tyson Jost version 2.0 and maybe a worse version of it. And I hate saying that because
version of the app. Jost was the 99-cent version.
This was the AOL CD you got in the mail. Could he be? I think at this point, the Avalanche just want him to be that guy that, hey, if we need a call up, we know that you can come up and we know we can slot you in and be reliable.
Magna's gone. We need.
They're not even at that. They're not even at that with Cal right now.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's sad because, you do root for that guy. You root for anybody.
Yeah.
And I root for guys that I always want to see guys like him. How you're saying, like, what could he do down there? I don't know, but I still will hold out hope that whatever it is, it becomes a reality. And I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough to see him go through it. And like you said, that the preseason comment, him saying this might be my last shot. You can't say they haven't given you chances this year. You've given more chances this year than any in the past. Some of that might be because of injury, but that shouldn't matter. Yeah. Who cares how you get up there? Once you get your spot and once you get your chance, you take it. And it's just not working out for him right now.
And we just watched the games and we talked about Kaut being like, in those preseason games after the comment, he was playing very try hard. And then you could like tell by his attitude on the bench, like, this dude is never happy with his own play. It's not like the team. It's always like him. He's never happy with what he's bringing to the team. And it's just, apparently Bednar's picking up on it as well. Like, and if he's not getting the performance that he anticipates, he's just like, well, maybe next time.
Yeah. Well, we'll see where it goes. All right. We still got to talk about the Rangers in a minute, but definitely just want to bring up that Artturi Lehkonen, Darren Helm, and Evan Rodrigues are skating all in non-contact jerseys. You feel that, obviously we're talking about Nichushkin. You feel like Helm is maybe next in line. And then it could be either Lehkonen or Erod. Maybe they come back at the same time. But the thing that I found really interesting with Artturi Lehkonen is he's in the concussion protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And that just makes me even more infuriated at the play of why he's even out to begin with.
Yeah.
And I know Charlie McAvoy made some comment. He was asked about the play. And he made some comment about like, oh, well, he's standing on top of my goalie, whacking my goalie. No, he wasn't. He was standing on top of your goalie. And I get when the goalie covers the puck and there's players around, there's a couple, hey, give him some space. I get that stuff. So for McAvoy to feel like what Lehkonen was doing was so egregious, he needed to give him a concussion.
Yeah. Just
makes any response that you have from any Boston Bruins player or beat writer, by the way, that much more ridiculous. Because yes, what McAvoy said was like, oh, plays like that happen 100 times. And what he's referring to is what I just said. When there's players kind of hovered around. Yes, that happens 100 times. Do you take guys down like that 100 times?
Yeah.
No, you do not.
No.
Everything that they're trying to do to cover this up, to say it's like, oh, it's just a hockey play, is bogus. It's complete garbage. And they know it. And they're not going to come out and say, he's like, oh, I didn't want to hurt anybody. You did. So then why don't you have go back and say maybe I should have done something different. He's not going to say that. Never going to say that. But it makes me that much more mad that now that we know what the injury is and it's a concussion. So congratulations, because a guy was standing over your goalie. You decided to give him concussion. In my eyes, you are now a joke, Charlie.
Yeah, that's Boston for you. It's what they do, the big bad Bruins. Well,
yeah, right.
Congratulations, you live up to your name. And I also taken away from that when they mentioned concussion protocol. Why have we not heard a thing out of Bo?
That's a weird one, man. I don't know what's going on with that, and I'm. But didn't they list him as lower body?
They did, but still, it went from Helm being who knows when to hey, by the way, here he is in a jersey skating around. I haven't heard a peep about Bo.
No, that's a weird one, and that's a little bit concerning that you're not hearing about that. You just get and I don't know, but you just get the vibe that something took a step backwards there.
Yep.
He was kind of on his whatever path they laid out for him. He was a week to week one, wasn't he? Yeah. Because he got hurt around the same time as Girard. Girard was day to day,
and he was supposed to come back with Girard.
Well, I remember Girard. They were injured the same time, and I remember they made the announcement. And Girard, they said day to day, and Byram, they said week to week. And we're going on about a month of him being out,
and not a single word.
Nothing. And you just hate, you always just go back to previous years, and you don't want to do that, but that's just kind of human nature. And you feel okay, did something go bad somewhere? Was he skating or something? And I don't know, man. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but
it was just the silence is deafening.
Yeah. We'll have to keep an eye. And then finally, we'll just tonight, with the New York Rangers coming to town, if you get Nichushkin back, obviously that helps you out immensely. That goes without saying. But everything else, like we were saying before, it was a big ask for them to take down the Bruins. I think they can hang at least with the Rangers. The Rangers have been up and down this year. But they still have, one of the best goalies in the league. So you're always going to have to put up with that. But guys like Kreider are not doing what they accomplished last year. Where's his stats? Let's see. So
you mean almost former Avalanche player Chris Kreider?
Yeah. Through 28 games, he's only got 23 points. That's not horrible. I'm not trying to say that's bad, but he had 50 goals last year.
Yeah.
So he's a less than a point per game right now, and that's not him. Even Panarin is doing Panarin things. He's got 33 points in 28 games, but he's only got 6 goals. He is an assist machine. In my opinion, he's one of the best passers in the league. So he's always going to have those assists, but he's struggling to find the net. His plus minus is a -7.
Ooh.
Interesting. So, you have up and down the roster, you have guys that are putting up good numbers. Zibanejad, who maybe is one of my favorite players outside of the Avalanche, 32 points for him in 28 games. He's a +9. Adam Fox, I know Avalanche players or fans don't want to hear this right now. Probably the favorite for the Norris right now, and he is a fantastic defenseman. There's no doubt about it. So you have to kind of do. So they have the players. What's the friend he's got? He's still, I don't know. 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points in 28 games. He's yet to really turn into that number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
But he's a force. He's a big body. And how, we're saying with Martin Kaut, he's just non-existent. Even if he's not putting up points, you
see Lafreniere. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Rangers are just one of those teams. They're a mystery. Sometimes they come out and they look what they just did to Vegas.
Yeah.
5-1. They just swept the ice with Vegas. But they are a team of Martin Kauts. They are very inconsistent right now.
And the Avs and the Rangers have the same win-loss record. The Rangers have lost more overtime games. So honestly, I feel good about the chances of the Avalanche against the Rangers. You could get mowed down 6-1, or it could be reversed, and both are easily like you can understand both.
Hmm.
And I feel like the Avalanche are due one of those good puck luck games, especially if Nuke comes through the door. That's going to be a high in ball arena. Bring it on.
Yeah. And you just want to stop this losing streak on top of all else. So you want to get in the win column. I do. I think they're going to come out and play really hard. I think all those, newbies, well, they've played before, just playing in that capacity against bosses, being like the guys.
Yeah.
Like this is, we're relying on all of you guys right now. They got that out of the way, and now they can go into this game and maybe, be a little bit more freer. I don't know. I feel good about being a competitive game. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to win this thing outright, but I think they have a really good shot at it. I'll say that.
Both teams started out with very high expectations, being talked about as a potential Stanley Cup finals matchup. Both hit the same slide, coming in with the same record. And the first time we played the Rangers, that was in October, that was a shootout win.
Yeah.
So even at full strength, it doesn't really matter. It's a mute point. It's the Eastern version of the Avalanche. This is going to be a good game.
And that's the other part about it. How pumped up was Georgiev when he got that win?
Yeah.
That shootout win. So don't forget about that factor either. I think for as long as he is playing with somebody that's not the Rangers, hopefully it's the Avalanche for a while, he's going to get up for his former team.
Yep.
Every time. So should be a good one because it is a Friday game. We won't be back until Monday to talk about it, but follow us on our social media pages. We'll be discussing it there. But until then, we'll be back on Monday. And do they play? Yeah, they play Sunday as well, right? Almost positive because
Let's see, on the 11th at St. Louis.
At St. Louis. Okay. So we'll have 2 games to talk about when we come back on Monday. Be sure to tune in for that. But for now, thank you for tuning in to this episode and making it your first listen of the day. Obviously, that is always appreciated. And enjoy the game. Enjoy the weekend. And we'll see everybody next week. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys on Monday.